Yes, Howard, I can hear you perfectly.
All right, buddy.
Hello from Switzerland.
I got to tell you my embarrassing story about Switzerland. The first time I lectured there, I looked at this beautiful mountain, and the guy said to me, he said, "Yeah, that's the Matterhorn." I said, "Wow, did you know Disneyland has a roller coaster ride called the Matterhorn?" And he said, "Really? Are you that dumb?" And I said, "Yes, I'm actually that dumb." But anyway, so we are talking today to Marco Gadola, CEO of Straumann out of Basel, Switzerland. Marco Gadola has a strong executive track record in a broad range of global businesses. He joined Straumann in 2013 as CEO, having previously served as Chief Financial Officer and Executive Vice President of Operations from 2006 to 2008, when he left to pursue a career development opportunity at Panalpina, a world leader in supply chain management. Having started as Panalpina's Chief Financial Officer, he became Regional CEO of Asia Pacific in 2012, with overall responsibility for regional business. Prior to his first term at Straumann, he spent 5 years at Hero, the Swiss-based international food group, where he was the CFO and responsible for IT and operations. Previously, he spent 9 years at the international construction tool manufacturer Hilti, where he held a number of senior commercial, sales, finance-related positions in various countries. Before that, he worked for Sandoz International as Audit Manager for the Swiss Bank Board in corporate finance. Mr. Gadola graduated from Basel University in Business Administration and Economics. He also completed various programs at the London School of Economics and IMD in Lausanne. Marco Gadola is Vice Chairman of the Board of Helida Group and heads its Audit Committee. He is also a member of the board at MCH Group, Switzerland, and heads its Audit Committee, in addition to being a panel member of the Swiss American Chamber of Commerce. This year, Marco was ranked 7th in the Incisal Edge most influential people in dentistry. Congratulations for making that list. That was amazing, Marco. Thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome.
We are in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. That's the capital of Canada.
Wonderful.
They're all drinking maple syrup. I did not realize that. So man, you're amazing. I'm so glad to get you on the show. It seems like when you go around the world, the two fastest growing segments are placing dental implants and Invisalign. And I think one of the reasons is because when I lecture around the world, like you go to 3 of the greatest civilizations ever, Tokyo, Japan, Paris, France, London, England, the government schemes only give them $100 for a molar root canal. And it's hard to do a molar root canal like you want to do it on your best friend for $100. But implants and orthodontics are 2 procedures that are not covered by government insurance schemes. And like I was lecturing in Cambodia and Malaysia and Indonesia, they say, well, we lose money on all of our fillings, cleans, exams, and x-rays, but if we place 1 implant a week or do 1 orthodontic case a week, we're a rich dentist. So you're in the really hottest, fastest growing part of dentistry and implants. How do you see the implant market around the world?
You know, the implant market around the world is actually not as fast growing as the orthodontic side, so the clear aligner side. And we'll have a chance to talk a little bit more about this. Overall, globally, the dental implant market is growing at a rate of 3 to 4%. If you take out the growth of Straumann, it's more around 2%. And 2%, this is actually not that exciting. However, if you look at the different geographies, we have obviously under-penetrated markets like China. So the Chinese market, dental implant market, is growing by more than 30% on an annual basis. The Indian market even growing 50%. Even the US market is still growing 5 to 6%. But you also have large, already quite high penetrated markets like the German market, like the Italian market, like the Swiss market or the Scandinavian markets, where we don't see any growth. So in general, 3 to 4 without Straumann 2, so relatively modest growth, but we still have economies with a lot of potential to grow the treatment rate with implants.
Why do you think in some countries like South Korea and Germany, 3 out of 4 general dentists placed an implant last month, but then you go in markets like the United States where half the dentists have never placed an implant? Do you see that changing moving forward?
You know, obviously the more dentists knowing about implants, the more dentists able to place implants, the more implants will actually be recommended as the treatment of choice to patients, and the higher the penetration rate is. Now let me talk a little bit about Korea. So Korea is the most penetrated market with dental implants worldwide. Roughly 2.2, 2.3 million implants on an annual basis. If you translate that into the number of implants placed per 10,000 inhabitants, and that's actually the rate which we use to compare country by country if there is still potential to grow or not. In Korea, we have more than 400 implants placed per 10,000 inhabitants per year. If you compare that to the US, there are 75. Okay, so the US is actually by a factor of not even 20% at the implant penetration rate of South Korea. There are worse countries. China, it's 7. India, it's 2. You mentioned Germany. Germany is around 140. Now, what is specific about South Korea? In South Korea, all dentists place implants. Okay? And nobody does endo work, as you pointed out. They don't believe in endo. Okay? They just take the tooth out and they place an implant. You can have different views about this.
We have an endodontist in the room. We have an endodontist in the room. She wants to get talking.
Probably Korea is not the country where this lady wants to live, but it's a fact. There are almost no root canal treatments in Korea, and that's explaining the extremely high rate of implants placed in that country. If you go to the...
Can I interrupt one thing though?
Yes, absolutely.
But the dentist won't tell me this on a podcast, but they'll tell me while they're drinking beer and sake at the bar that it's because their government will only give them $100 for a molar root canal in Tokyo, Seoul, Paris, London. So in London, in America, the average root canal is $600 to $1,200. So if I'm only going to get $100, that root canal is going to cost me at least $300. Why would I lose $200 in root canal? So they just say, well, I can't fix this. We need to pull this into an implant. Do you think implants are taking over molar endo, or the government makes the fee, sets the fee, and forces you to do it at a loss? That if you want to see more of something, you make it profitable. You want to see less of something, you make it lose money.
I would say that this might be one contributing factor, but you mentioned Japan. You also mentioned that Japan is actually similar to South Korea when it comes to the reimbursement for endo treatments. In Japan, the implant penetration rate is 43, so it's almost 10 times lower than in Korea. If you go to the UK, you have 35, so the UK is one of the most under-penetrated markets with dental implants. Okay, it has a lot to do there with national health insurance. In the UK, traditional crown and bridge work is reimbursed, whereas when it comes to dental implants, it's not. So obviously this plays a role too. But I would also say it has a little bit to do with the philosophy of the dentists. Japanese dentists, or Japan in particular, in general, they are very cautious, and they actually believe in maintaining the natural tooth. That's very deep in their mindset, and despite the fact that they only get 100% contribution to a root canal treatment, they still first try to save the tooth. Whereas the South Korean dentists, they are, I would say, maybe more pragmatic, more money driven, and they go for the immediate implant solution.
So you were saying earlier that you thought that the Invisalign clear retainer market was growing faster than the implant market?
Oh yes, yes.
And what you said the implant market was growing 3 to 4% globally. What do you see the clear aligner market growing?
If you look at clear aligners, there is one dominating force in this segment, and we all know the company. It's actually Align. Align has a market share of over 70%. And so looking at their numbers gives you a very good indication about the growth of the segment itself. Align has grown during the first 6 months its business by 30%. I think that when looking at the clear aligner market, it's a little bit like the dental implant market 20 years ago. the penetration rate overall when it comes to orthodontic treatments is still very, very low. If you look at the US, for example, which is the highest penetrated market when it comes to orthodontic cases, you have potentially 200 million Americans eligible for one type, for a clear aligner type or a traditional braces and bracket types of ortho treatment, roughly 200 million. And the number of ortho cases in the US on an annual basis is 4 million. So you have a penetration rate of 2%. And then if you look at how many of these 4 millions are actually treated with clear aligners, we are talking here penetration rate of roughly 12%. So there are roughly 500,000 cases in the US treated on an annual basis with clear aligners. So I think the potential is tremendous, is very, very big to actually bring, first of all, the penetration rate overall when it comes to orthodontic treatment rates up, and then more and more of the cases which, you know, up to now have been treated with traditional braces and brackets are in the future potential cases for clear aligners.
Well, you're making all the news in America because you just made a very big acquisition. You bought the #2 largest company in clear aligners. You just bought ClearCorrect. Do you remember buying that?
Slightly, yeah. This was a couple of days ago, so no, it's still very fresh to my memory. But you know, it's actually interesting what you mentioned. ClearCorrect #2 company in the industry. ClearCorrect generated last year $32 million of revenue. This is actually 2% global share, and it's #2 or #3. You know, if it's #2 or #3, you can debate. But there is one company which is really dominating this segment. It's Align. Okay, Align is actually, and we all know that they are generating more than $1 billion of revenue on an annual basis.
1 billion.
I think this year it will be close to 1.2.
1.2, and what percent of market share does Align have?
If you say the market is roughly 1.5 billion, you know, they are 70% of the market.
So a big part of Align technology was the purchasing of iTero for the digital scanner, and you also bought a company not far from here, Dental Wings in Montreal, as a lab scanner and intraoral scanner. Is that kind of Dental Wings your version of iTero?
Yeah, it's obviously it's an alternative. There are, as you know, there are several intraoral scanners in the market. You know, the most popular scanner, intraoral scanner, is the CEREC scanner from Sirona. You have obviously then you have iTero, which actually Align bought, I think 5 or 6 years ago. You have Dental Wings, you have 3Shape, which is actually the #2 company when it comes to intraoral scanners, I would say worldwide behind Sirona. So these days you have a couple of options. We believe with Dental Wings we have now a very strong partner, so this is actually our powerhouse when it comes to the development of CAD/CAM, not only equipment but also the corresponding software, and we are actually very happy to have them on board. But having said that, we also have a distribution partnership with 3Shape, so we also distribute the 3Shape intraoral scanners, not yet in the US, we distribute them in Europe. But during the fourth quarter of 2017, we will also start to distribute through the Straumann network the 303 intraoral scanner of 3Shape.
I think 3Shape just signed a distribution with Patterson Dental Company.
Yesterday it was about iTero, so Patterson also has several intraoral scanners in their portfolio going forward. They signed the agreement with 3Shape a couple of weeks ago, and they just announced yesterday that they also entered into an agreement with Align to actually distribute their iTero scanners going forward.
So I'm going to go back to implants. Well, first of all, what are your plans for ClearCorrect? Or do you have any big plans for that now that it's backed by a large company like Straumann?
What's also important to kind of notice is that the large majority of clear aligner cases are made in the US. So roughly 2 out of 3 cases these days are made in the US. So there is actually, it's not only in a way, you know, one dominating company in this segment, it's also one dominating country, and that's the US. Align is now expanding into China, for example, where they put up a treatment center. So we believe that what we can help ClearCorrect with is to take that business international. We are entertaining a direct-to-dentist and lab sales force of roughly 1,500 throughout the globe. And we believe that we will be in a position to generate leads, to actually, bring the clear, correct portfolio in front of our customers, and through that to actually generate also business outside of the US.
Very interesting. Straumann also has a porcelain implant, the Straumann Pure. How is that going? When that first came out, I first thought it was aesthetic. But everybody that I talk to that's placing them is because patients think they have metal allergies. Did Straumann come out with a porcelain implant more for the humans that believe they have allergies to metal, or is it more cosmetic, or what was your thinking in a porcelain implant?
There are three factors which potentially speak to place a porcelain or ceramic implant instead of a titanium implant. One is obviously the aesthetic aspect, because obviously, in case that you have gum recession, what's shimmering through is not the gray titanium implant. It's actually then in that case an implant which looks like natural bone in a way. The second point is, and I think that's very interesting, especially mid-long term, we see based on preclinical studies and some first results of clinical studies that soft tissue integration works better with ceramic implants compared to titanium implants. And then obviously the third factor, as you pointed out, there are also some people who don't want to actually have any metal in their body, and obviously then ceramic implants are an alternative to titanium implants.
Yeah, a lot of Americans believe that. If you believe you can't have metal in your body, you have to work back from that. If they just believe it, you're not going to change your mind. You're very big into mergers and acquisitions. I've noticed you bought some of the biggest implant companies around the world other than Straumann. Like you bought the largest implant company in Brazil, Neodent. How many different implant companies have you bought so far?
So if you look at our portfolio of implant brands, we have, obviously the Straumann brand, which is our premium brand, our global premium brand. And then we have two international brands. One is Neodent, as you pointed out, the market leader in Brazil, which is, besides the US, the second largest market when it comes to dental implants. And the third brand we have in our portfolio is a German brand by the name of Medentika. So these two brands, these two non-premium brands, we actually launch internationally, though we actually take them outside of their home market, so outside of Brazil for Neodent and outside of Germany for Medentika. And then we have a couple of other brands which are more local regional brands, like last November we acquired the number 3 in the Indian market, a company by the name of Equinox, an Indian manufactured dental implant brand. And we also have a shareholding in a French implant company by the name of Antagir. And Antagir is actually our non-premium brand in the Chinese and the Russian markets. And on top of that, we have two joint ventures. We have one joint venture for Turkey and the surrounding markets. And that implant has the brand name of Cinedent. And we are in the process of developing, together with one of the largest micromotor companies in the world, an injection molded ceramic implant. So this is the portfolio of implants we have.
Do you have more mergers and acquisitions on the way? You look like you're not going to stop.
Yeah, I think we have now, after the latest acquisitions with ClearCorrect and also Dental Wings, and we also entered the 3D printing field, as you may know, through a partial acquisition of a company by the name of Rapid Shape. We have now, I would say, a lot of opportunities created through M&A, and for us, the key priority now, the focus over the next couple of years, is to actually make sure we take these businesses and we increase our market share in the corresponding relevant markets. But that doesn't rule out that, if opportunities arise, that we will not look at, this or that, or that we stay away from opportunities.
You think, the dental market started with CAD/CAM, where you're reducing a block, and now it's going into 3D printing. How significant do you think 3D printing will go moving forward? I mean, you mostly see it in Straumann for surgical guys. Do you think 3D printing will start doing your your clear aligners for clear correct? Do you think they'll start doing restorations? What is your prediction for the 3D printing market in dentistry?
As you pointed out today, you know, it's mainly models, it's drill guides, it's bite splints. Obviously, ClearCorrect is using 3D printers because to manufacture aligners, clear aligners, you first have to 3D print a model, and then you can actually manufacture the aligner. 3D printing aligners, I don't think that we will see this over the next 2 to 3 years, but down the road, yes. It's actually not a question of printing technology, it's a question of the material. And I also believe that, you know, 3 to 4 years down the road, we will see crowns and bridges 3D printed. Also there, it's not a question about the printing technology, it's more a question about the materials. So I personally believe that a lot of the products which are currently still milled, being it, you know, chairside or in-lab or through centralized milling centers, in 3 to 4 years from now, these products will be 3D printed.
How many dental implant manufacturers do you think there are on the globe today?
Roughly 500.
So a lot of people that listen to these implants, these podcasts are millennials. They seem to be more likely to be born after 1980, whereas the people on Dental Town are more likely to be old and fat and bald like me, baby boomers. A lot of these millennials come out of dental school and they're listening to you right now and they're saying, well, I just graduated from dental school and we didn't even learn how to place implants. What would you say to a just graduated from dental school and she's looking out there and there's hundreds and hundreds of different implant companies, and how does she pick an implant company, and how does she learn how to place implants? How does she go from, I just graduated, I've never placed an implant, how do I learn how to place an implant? And what would you tell her? Why should she use Straumann instead of, how many implant companies do you think there are?
Yeah, roughly 500.
500? So how does she pick between 500 implant companies, and what advice would you give her to learn how to place an implant when her dental school didn't teach her how to place one?
You know, one great opportunity to actually really get the opportunity to place implants is obviously through postgraduate programs, but obviously there, you know, that the number of people who can enjoy such a program is rather limited. Another opportunity which is actually coming up more and more are dental service organizations. Okay, so they hire younger dentists, they train these dentists, and then once they train, they want to open up their own practice, but it's an excellent training route. There's, for example, one company, not in the US, in Spain, the name of that company is iDental. They employ 750 dentists in 26 clinics in Spain. And they have a very good, very well-structured training and education program for young dentists. They come in, they first watch, but already after a year they place their own implants, then they become in the second year, they get into the more complicated phases. In year 3, they even actually are kind of, you know, monitoring what the first year dentists are doing. So this is a great opportunity to get, you know, experience with implants, because you know that as well as I do, very often, you know, a dentist starts with implants, places 2 or 3, and then forgets again about it. And you need to be, you know, in the game. You need to place, I would say, at least 20 to 30 implants on a yearly basis to really stay tuned in. Now, in terms of the brand, you know, I obviously would like you all to use the Straumann brand, and that's also a great opportunity to actually talk about Straumann. There are other very good implant systems out there. So I'm not advocating that Straumann is the only good and solid implant system out there. But I would say if you actually look at the really tangible benefits, what do you get out of using Straumann, for example, compared to a non-premium, no-name brand? You get, first of all, peace of mind, which I think, especially if you are a young dentist, you know, you open up a new practice, you want to make sure that the products you work with, they really hold up. You don't want to have complications in your practice already during the first couple of years. So you want to work together with somebody you can really trust, who has the corresponding clinical studies, who also has the field support, which is also important, you know, reps out in the field, who actually provides the training and education courses, because you're not yet, you know, the surgeon who has placed thousands of implants, so who really brings you up to the next level and is a business partner for you. And we as Straumann, we can actually offer that. I don't say we are the only ones, there are also other companies who do that, but as a young dentist, you know, new in my practice, I would work with a company who has this reputation, just because I want to make sure my practice grows nicely. And maybe after I place 2,000 or 3,000 implants, then I can actually say, you know, I know exactly this indication. I don't need to go with the Rolls-Royce. I can also go with a non-premium brand, and I actually potentially use, you know, the premium brand for the more difficult, the more challenging situations.
Well, there's already thousands of cases posted on Dental Town of what implant is this, and 5 years later, the cheap implant companies out of business, they're gone. And it seems like most of the oral surgeons and periodontists I know in the United States are afraid of the 1 million attorneys, and they want to use implant systems that if one of these cases fails and goes to court, they have tons of research from a premium implant company to keep them out of court. And there are 500 dental implant companies, and you're in the very top market, so there's a big reason why you're one of the top. I mean, you're definitely in the top, what would you say, top 2, 3, 5 in almost any country?
So we are globally clearly the #1 company. We sold last year more than 3 million implants. The total market worldwide is roughly 16 million implants, so more or less 1 out of 5 implants is coming from the Straumann group, so either Neodent or Straumann or Medentika or one of the other brands.
So you're #1 then?
We are #1 globally, yes.
Wow, but you're only #7 on the most influential man in dentistry.
Well, that's not bad. I'm the only American in the top 20, so I think, you know, I'm actually pretty proud of that ranking.
You also bought Botus for bone grafting, regenerative. Will you talk about Botus?
Yes, Botus, we are actually in the process of registering the Botus product range in the US. I guess we will be ready to start commercializing the Botus products from the second half of 2000 onward. We already have an interesting Botus product in the US market. Maybe some of you have heard about the bone ring technique. This product doesn't need registration because it's a customized product. That's already available. The other products of the Botus range, you know, the xenografts, the synthetic bone grafting materials, the membranes, etc., they will be available from Q3 2018 onwards.
I noticed with the bone ring graft that there's 3 different dentists claiming they invented that, and I noticed there's a few that invented all on 4. There's a man in Cambodia that says he invented it, but then there's a German and a Swiss too. So did you ever figure out which one really invented it?
To be honest, I don't really care. The product works. We have the distribution rights. You know, let's have somebody else finding out who really is the inventor. I don't really care, to be honest.
Well, I did an entire podcast with the man from Cambodia, and we just wanted to tell that he won for the entire hour. But I want to ask, is there any questions from the audience? Someone has to have a question for this amazing man.
I just have a little bit more of a corporate type of question, I guess. First of all, I'd like to give a shout out to my Straumann rep, Brendan over here. Brendan McHenry, great guy.
Hey, Brendan! Woo!
He's worked for you for 5 years and he's never even met you.
If you haven't met him, you're going to meet him, like, right now. There you go.
Just say hi.
Hey, Brendan. Great to get to know you.
So can you just give me a little idea about the philosophy of all these mergers and acquisitions? Like, how do we see, or how can we picture Straumann in the future, in the sense that since you're buying all of these different facets all under this dental umbrella, is it going to be Straumann is going to be the provider of all things dental, or is it you're just trying to get yourself into different markets? Like, can you look out a few years and give us an idea of how you guys see that kind of coming to fruition?
Very good question. You know, if you go back to the end of 2012 and you look at, you know, the product portfolio we at Straumann had at hand, at that time we were a premium parallel walled dental implant company. So what we had in our portfolio were tissue level and bone level parallel walled premium implants. Okay? With that portfolio, we were actually able at that point in time to address a market of roughly $1 billion US. We then decided during the course of 2014, we want to be a total solution provider for tooth replacement for dentists and for labs. So in case a dentist wants to actually work digitally and also wants to actually manufacture or produce some of the products in his own dental practice, he gets today from Straumann not only the intraoral scanner, but he also gets the biomaterials, the implants, the prosthetic parts, the chairside mill, and the corresponding blocks to put in the chairside mill to actually mill an inlay, an onlay, or a crown. So we have the whole digital workflow and all the products actually a dentist needs today to replace the tooth we have available to them. And the same we have available for the labs. You know, we have lab scanners, we have in-lab milling machines, we have pre-mills, we have discs, we have blocks. So this has been our ambition back in 2014. And I can say now, looking now at the product portfolio we have at hand today, we are able to cover a market of roughly $8 billion US. So we have increased the addressable market for Straumann as a company from 1 to 8, so by a factor of 8. And this is also the reason why we have been able to clearly outperform competition over the last couple of years. And growing in this space, which is growing, you know, between 3 and 4%, we have been able to grow last year by 13% and the first 6 months of this year by 14%. So we want to be more than just providing dental implants. We want to provide holistic treatment concept, holistic solutions to dentists and to labs.
And that's strictly, right now, as you see, it's strictly the implant workflow.
It was implants. Now, obviously, since the acquisition of ClearCorrect, we are also playing in the ortho market. However, having said that, you know, we believe that this is in a way complementary, because in many, many cases, and you guys know that even better than I do, in many cases you first have to move the teeth into the right position before you can actually do the implant treatment. So it's complementary to what we have doing in the past.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions? We have a second generation dentist coming down. He's new and improved from his father. What percent better are you than your dad? Oh, he's an orthodox. Oh, he's an orthodox. They just use flu and rubber bands.
My question is kind of furthering on that with regards to the acquisition of ClearCorrect. I see it as like a holistic approach in creating that space, but you've just released, in Canada, it's coming up, in the US, you just released the 2.9 millimeter DLP. How did you come to that decision when, realistically, that's being marketed as a savior implant for tight spaces for smaller cases? Just wondering how that, with the internal connection, we have some material choices there. I wondered if you could speak to that, but also, that workflow.
No, the small diameter implant, we're talking about the 2.9 millimeter implant, and we only offer that actually in rock solid. So our strong material. This has been a gap in our product portfolio. We estimate that in roughly 8 to 9% of all potential cases, you need a small diameter implant. We also know that with small diameter implants, the problem in the past has been breakages, because they are thinner, so tendentially they break more often. We have now with rock solid, we have actually overcome this to a certain degree, because the rock solid material obviously has higher tensile strength than any other material. So the idea with SDI was actually to offer a solution to a roughly 8 to 9% of all the cases, where before, our customer base was not able to use a strong product. That was actually the intention.
And then with regards to, could you see that playing with ClearCorrect to try and facilitate space opening and they kind of compete for the same market. That is
yes, as I pointed out before, in many cases, especially when you talk about cases in the anterior regions or the aesthetic area, moving two teeth first to actually create space and then place the implant. That's what this is all about. So we see this as actually complementary products and complementary offering. In a way, you're right. In a way, we are competing with clear corrects against the SDI. But in the more broad picture, we believe this is actually a very, very good and complementary add-on to what we already had when it comes to our product portfolio.
And then a follow-up question: where do you see the digital workflow going? Like right now, we always think right now we're the best it can ever be, but and then a new product comes out, a new merger happens. Where do you see the digital workflow in 5 years?
I guess some of you are actually working digitally in your practices or at the universities. Today we are still far away from really being able to provide seamlessly integrated digital workflows. And I'm talking here open systems. So if you have, I don't know, maybe an IP Tiro scanner and you have a CEREC mill, it's a hassle. Okay, and if you even then have a 3D printer of, I don't know, from maybe Formlabs or whatever, it's for a dentist in the practice. Many dentists, they don't want to get involved into digital workflows because they don't want to become software engineers. They want to actually, fix problems in the patient's mouth. So I think the first thing we have to do as your industry partners is to make sure we really provide you with seamlessly integrated digital workflows, so that you don't have to worry about, can I now upload this STL file on this or that? Is it compatible? Is it working? But really to provide you with trustworthy, integrated digital workflows. So I think this has to be the first priority of us as your industry partners. And then down the road, we talked about 3D printing. I think, this will actually change the world. I think we will see more and more products which are actually today either provided by a lab or, done manufactured chairside, or provided by centralized milling centers like we entertain as Straumann. Many of these products will be replaced by 3D printing, and you can actually do it chairside in your own practice.
And then one final one, and I may not get an answer from it, but what is your per unit manufacturing cost on the dental?
I can tell you, if I look, and obviously we have different dental implant systems. Our manufacturing site in Curitiba in Brazil is probably the most effective site worldwide, and also from a cost per implant point of view is extremely efficient. When you look at the Straumann production in Switzerland, now Switzerland is a high-cost country, and we put a lot of emphasis on quality assurance of each and every single small production step. So the manufacturing of a Straumann branded implant is much more costly, is much more expensive than manufacturing a Neodent implant. So this is what I can tell you. And I guess you appreciate that I don't share publicly here, numbers of what the production costs of an implant are.
Now, his dad is an orthodontist, so he's going to ask the final question. He's an orthodontist. He's going to ask about Clear Connect. Come on, you have to have an orthodontist question.
No, I don't use Clear Connect.
Well, you got to ask him a question about it. You have a clear aligner question. Are there any other orthodontists in the room? You're the only orthodontist. Are you the only orthodontist?
No, there's a fellow at the back, or you want to do.
Who else is an orthodontist here? Well, you got, come on, Baldy, get down here now.
I'm very loyal to Invisalign.
But, I just want to thank you so much. This was amazing. Thank you so much. It's so neat, the technology. You're in Switzerland. I'm from Phoenix. We're here in the capital of Canada taking questions. Technology is very, very exciting. And I know you're the busiest man in dentistry, and the fact that you took time to talk to us today was amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your time, for having me. It has been a real pleasure to be with you guys. Thanks a lot, and good afternoon, Ottawa. Pleasure.
Okay, and when you come to America, don't forget to ride the Matterhorn.
Thank you, guys.